You've probably noticed something strange about how people react to real intelligence. It isn't always admired. Sometimes the very first reaction is discomfort, distance, or a kind of quiet suspicion nobody ever says out loud. Have you ever felt like the deeper you think, the more alone you become in the room? You're not imagining that. History keeps proving it over and over. Compare intelligence to something like wealth, looks, or physical strength for a moment. When you stand next to someone impressively built or clearly rich, your first reaction is usually admiration, maybe a flicker of envy. It rarely feels threatening because those things live outside you. They don't touch how you see yourself. Intelligence works completely differently. It isn't something a person simply has. It's tied to how they think, what they believe, and how they interpret the world, which means it brushes directly against something psychologists call the cognitive self, the part of your identity built entirely around how capable you believe your own mind to be. This creates something close to a mirror effect. A sharp, analytical mind doesn't need to show off to unsettle a room. The way someone asks one precise question or cuts straight to the core of a problem can accidentally reflect back exactly how deeply everyone else in that conversation has actually been thinking. And most people find it far easier to accept being wrong than to feel quietly diminished. So the brain reaches for a safer story instead. That person's overcomplicating things. They're making a big deal out of nothing. This isn't conscious, it's automatic. Here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because this reaction may not be purely social at all. It might be tens of thousands of years old. Picture small tribal groups gathered around a fire long before written history. In evolutionary terms, belonging to that group wasn't emotional comfort, it was survival. Getting cut off from the tribe meant facing predators, hunger, and exposure completely alone. So the human brain developed a clear, ruthless priority. Keeping the group unified mattered more than chasing any single uncomfortable truth. Shared belief held the group together. Difference threatened that cohesion. Now imagine someone in that tribe constantly questioning the accepted way of doing things. Today, you'd call that critical thinking. Back then, it could easily read as a threat to the entire group's stability. And that reaction still runs through a very real piece of your biology today, the amygdala, the small brain structure responsible for detecting danger and triggering fear. Studies using brain imaging have found that when people feel their intellectual standing challenged, the amygdala can activate almost as strongly as it does during actual physical danger. That uncomfortable feeling when an idea goes over someone's head isn't just vague awkwardness. On some level, their brain is quietly treating it like a threat. That ancient wiring hasn't gone anywhere, even inside modern offices, group chats, and dinner parties. Researchers studying social dynamics have noticed something telling. One-on-one, people are often genuinely open to a deep, complex conversation because no audience is watching and no ego is on the line. Put that exact same idea in front of a group, though, and defensiveness spikes sharply. In a group, status matters intensely, and an idea too advanced for the room can unintentionally make everyone else feel smaller. Rather than engage with it, the group often instinctively closes ranks against whoever introduced it. This is exactly why average, easily digestible opinions tend to feel so much safer in groups. They let everyone avoid uncomfortable questions and uncomfortable comparisons. A sharper perspective threatens that comfortable equilibrium, whether it means to or not. Here's the twist that trips up a lot of genuinely intelligent people. They assume the fix is simply more evidence, more logic, more data, believing sheer correctness will eventually win others over. Behavioral research suggests the opposite often happens. Pure logic thrown into an emotionally charged moment tends to backfire because it's colliding with cognitive habits that are deeply wired into how people think. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that people with the least understanding of a topic are often the most confidently dismissive of it, precisely because they don't know enough to recognize what they're missing. Status quo bias makes people cling to the familiar even when something better is right in front of them, because change reads instinctively as risk, and the backfire effect might be the most dangerous of all. Present someone a fact that challenges a deeply held belief, and instead of updating their view, they often grip that belief even tighter while quietly turning hostile toward whoever challenged it. Being right doesn't wake people up. It frequently just activates their defenses. This pattern explains something haunting about history's most celebrated minds. Socrates spent his life pushing people to question their assumptions and was ultimately forced to drink poison for it. Galileo proved the Earth orbits the sun and spent the rest of his life under house arrest for threatening the wrong kind of authority. Tesla envisioned free energy for everyone and died broke and alone because his ideas threatened powerful financial interests. Society wasn't actually afraid of intelligence itself, it was afraid of what intelligence represents: change. So what do you actually do with that if you recognize yourself in any of this? You're not doomed to permanent isolation. You just need to stop broadcasting every insight the instant you have it, and start reading the room before opening the deepest door in your mind. Simplifying complex ideas into familiar, relatable language isn't dumbing anything down, it's removing the wall that makes people feel lectured instead of included. Framing a sharp observation as a question or a shared possibility, rather than a flat correction, keeps someone's defenses from firing in the first place. And accepting that most relationships will only ever exist on the surface, while deliberately seeking out the handful of people who genuinely operate on your frequency, protects you from the exhausting effort of trying to be fully understood by everyone. No civilization has ever advanced by rewarding only safe, average thinking. Every real leap forward started with someone willing to see past what everyone else was quietly walking by. If you've ever felt like your own depth of thought made a room go quiet, understand what's actually happening. You're not doing anything wrong. You're simply seeing the world through a slightly higher resolution than the people around you, and their discomfort is an ancient defense mechanism working exactly the way it always has, not a verdict on you at all. You've probably noticed something strange about how people react to real intelligence. Now you know that reaction isn't really about you. It's about how threatened an ancient, tribal brain still feels every time something unfamiliar walks into the room.